everyone, and welcome to the Moms Who Made It YouTube channel. I am your host, Nicole Green, and founder of Motivating Young Moms. Today we have a special guest, Miss Nicole Doss,
Hello.
founder and CEO of the Prestige Society.
Yay!
Nicole Doss founded the Prestige Society in 2012 on the premise of creating a platform for women to build powerful networks and dominate in their industries, both in their workplace and in their own businesses. The Prestige Society, a membership organization, has seen significant growth from the once small group of friends reaching for their dreams to a multi-state network of women executing their visions. As a change management, instructional design, and coaching professional, Doss enjoys helping women build and expand their professional brands. Having spent over a decade building her career in human resources and professional development, Doss believes that women entrepreneurs are forced to wear the hat of CEO, CFO, HR, and every other executive role when developing and operating their brands. But yet, many women do not wear these hats in their 9-to-5s. As a result, Doss utilizes her master's in instructional design and technology to create workshops and collaborative online groups to assist women in learning how to increase their business acumen and view their business from the appropriate lens, enabling them to be financially viable and operationally sound. Ensuring that women entrepreneurs everywhere are able to access to key resources, Doss also created non-member platforms to help women in their entrepreneur journeys, including iHeartRadio podcasts, a blog, writers, workshops facilitated in areas where local chapters are located, as well as a YouTube channel. Today is especially special to me because I am a member of the Prestige Society.
Yes.
And I have experience working with Nicole and her helping me increase, our business and helping build our brand. So today is extra special because I have experience in working with her. And I am excited that she is able to interview with me and share with you guys her journey from being a young mother to being who she is today, a CEO and founder of an amazing women organization. So Nicole, if you could, in your own words, just share, who you are today and basically your journey from being a young mom to who you are.
So I'm going to start off by saying who I am today probably looks nothing like who I was when I was a young mother. So even before I became a young mother, and let me just explain, I always say, I was a young mom, but I wasn't a teen mom. But I was young enough where I was not ready to be a mom, I didn't think. And I was a senior in college. I thought I was going to law school. I was actually prepping to do employment law. I was studying for my LSATs. I had a great girlfriend by the name of Ami, and we just knew that we were going to be attorneys together. Side note, she is today. And so she became the attorney. I just didn't. Even though I thought I was going to go on a different path, I knew one thing for sure, and that was because I was bringing a little person into the world that I was responsible for, I knew that I had a responsibility to be great. And my mom instilled that in me when I was like 6 years old, that it was my responsibility to be great. But it made it, I think, even more so real for me once I became a mom. I was going to be a mom of a little girl. It was like, oh, I have to be this role model for her. And so there was this really long road of me trying to find myself as me. And I think that's the part that, being a mother, which, you can understand too, older, it's such a different feeling when you're older because you've worked in your career for some time. You've spent years finding yourself. Yes, you're trying to figure out, your next level, but for the most part, you feel very comfortable in who you are. But when you're just graduating college, you don't have your first real job yet. You haven't really worked in your career yet. You don't really have the substantial income. I mean, my apartment was so disgusting and horrible that my dad, who grew up in the projects of Newark, was like, baby girl, this is worse than the projects your daddy grew up in. I remember feeling like I never thought I was going to make it, to be honest. I remember thinking,
what?
Yeah.
That is surprising.
I knew I had to, but it was just like, how? Like, I didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think, one thing, hard work and faith is really important, but I'm also a control freak. I'm, like you said, I am like painfully honest and transparent. So I am a control freak. So if I can't see it happen, I really begin to doubt. When I've grown since then, now I'm like, oh, I have faith and I'm just going to work it. But then if I couldn't see it, I really didn't think it was going to happen. So I remember like not even thinking I could ever make $50,000, which I think is like today hilarious, right? But I was like, I'll never make $50,000 and I'll never have my own home. And I just remember thinking those things couldn't happen because I didn't know how. And I just thought it would just take forever. So Nicole then, all I knew was that I just couldn't stop working because I had this beautiful little version of me. Like how we both have twins. Like our mini-me's are our twins, right? But like, Gabby was my mini-me, and I just knew my only job was to keep working for her. So that Nicole to who she is today is very different as far as like,
absolutely.
Now I'm like, no, like you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah. I think the role of being the role model for my girls, because now I have a little one who thinks she's a girl boss and thought she was going to sit on this interview with us. They're so impressionable, and so it's just like you really want to continue to mold their mind. You continue to want to be that role model for them. I think the difference for me though is now it's like, and you will make it, and it's not about how, who cares how, it's going to happen, keep working it. Yeah. So it's definitely a different mindset. But that girl then, let me tell you something, I don't miss those days. I am thankful for them, for the growth, for the journey, but it's like I'm so thankful for that growth in that journey, because when you look back you really can be very thankful for those lessons, because it was hard. Money was hard. Even, and my parents believe in tough love, so I had to move home. And my parents had 4 bedrooms, and my brother had passed away, so it was just me. So let me tell you what my parents did. Oh, you and Gabby will be in your room. My mom had an office in one of the bedrooms. She's like, that will remain my office, and my brother's room was to remain untouched. So you and Gabby will fit your bed and her crib in your room with no cable, and you will pay rent, and you will pay the PSE&G bill. It was like tough love. And my mom said, but discomfort will be a motivator for you. So get motivated. Yeah. And I was like,
something that you said is very familiar, I would say, across the board to probably all teen and young mothers that they experience and feel, and that's self-doubt.
Right.
Like you doubted that you would be at or could make it to a certain level.
Right.
So what happened, or what shifted that mindset?
I know, I'm trying to figure out, how do I not be like 2 arms with 2? No. So, but if this is to help mothers, and I have a really great relationship with Gabrielle's father, so like this is like no surprise to him, but it was leaving Gabrielle's father, we just weren't meant for each other, and I felt that if I stayed in that predicament, he asked me, he was like, do you feel like I hold you back? And I said yes, and I felt like I would not be able to have the freedom to be able to figure out who I was as a professional and really make something for myself and for my family, which consisted of me and Gabby, if I stayed in that relationship, just because there were things that I had to compensate for in that relationship that I felt like that wasn't for me. I can't help you find you, and I'm trying to help me find me. We were both young, right? So it's like I can't be your mom and her mom. Like I'm obligated to her. So I had to leave that relationship, and like I said, we co-parent great now. So it's like, if he saw this, he probably like, all right, knucklehead. But he wouldn't mind. But I share that not to throw shade at all to Gabby's father, because that's not the intent. The intent is for these young girls who may feel like they have to stay connected in relationships because of a child. This is for the young girls who are having kids to keep a man who's not even really your soulmate, because you're so young, you don't even know who's your soulmate at this point. So that was the first thing for me. And then the second point was the tough love my parents gave me. So I am my mother's only child, and then I call my dad, but he's my stepdad. So when you're your mother's only child, you know, there's a certain sense of spoiledness that comes with it. And then out of my step siblings, I was the baby. So I was like spoiled and spoiled, spoiled and even more spoiled. So I was very spoiled. And then once I became a mom, it was like, oh, you want to be a mom? So here's the credit card bills we pay. Like, my mom's from Brooklyn, my dad's from Newark. So they were like giving me all the way, like, here you go, school of the hard knocks. So yes, you can come home because we want what's best for you. But here's your credit cards. Here's your car insurance. Like, it was all these, and it was like, whoa, wait. Like, I can't handle it. And she said, yes, you can, because you decided to be an adult. You decided to be a mom, and this is what moms do.
Goodness.
But I'm thankful for that, because now it's like I give that same tough love to my daughter who's 16. Like, oh, you want a cell phone and you work. So guess what? You pay your cell phone bill. And even when we talk about school, and she's like, I don't know if I want to go to school. I said, great. So let me tell you what it looks like when you go to community college.
Exactly.
It looks like this is the rent here. This is what you're paying towards food. And I'm like, and you'll need a job to pay for school too, because I don't pay for community college. Like,
I love that.
But you know, it's like, I wouldn't have known that if my parents coddled me. And I think we were talking about that on the podcast, where we said, you know, people can support you, but all support isn't really good when it becomes in a space where you are
enabling.
When you're enabled to the point where you're now incompetent. So that, like, learning how to grind and hustle hard was huge for me, because that's what I think I do now. Like, it's like, by no means necessary. I will hustle hard. I will hustle hard for my family. I will hustle hard for prestige. I will hustle hard for my husband. It's like, that's now, and that's why I think I want women to know, like, you can do anything. Like, you can go from living in your parents' house to now having, you know, a life that you love. And with that will still come struggle, but you can do it. So I think that for me was that turning point from it being I don't think I can do it to you don't have a choice but to do it. So I think that was probably the turning point for me.
I dealt with a similar situation with my mom. Her telling me how you're going to have this baby, you're still going to graduate from high school, and you're still going to go to college. And it was like, I didn't even second guess it. I didn't even question it. I didn't even try to debate it. It was like, okay, then I am.
Absolutely. And that was the first thing my mother said to me when I told her I was pregnant. And it's so funny, I wasn't even living at home when I told her, but I was still scared, like super scared. And the first thing out of her mouth was, and you will be graduating college. And I remember thinking, why wouldn't I be? But once I went through first trimester, because you were young and dumb, you don't know. So, like,
you don't know what's about to happen.
No. And I was like, I was literally, and I was working too. So I was literally working in Horsham, Pennsylvania. I lived in Hamilton, New Jersey, and I was driving to New Brunswick, New Jersey every single day, pregnant. And because it was, you know, my last year, and I lost my brother that summer, so I didn't move back on campus like I normally would have been on campus. So with that, I really was in a space where I just wanted to sleep all the time, and I would be so exhausted that by the time spring break came, I had to look at my grades like, so what am I passing? And let me tell you, I had to go and do a lot of negotiating and a lot of stuff just to graduate, because it was looking real, like, bad for your girl.
And during your last year in college, that's rough in itself. So dealing with that and being pregnant and working, oh my God.
So it was a lot. And I remember when my mom said that, so now I realized when I was like scared, like, I don't think I can graduate. And I was like, oh gosh, but she said you will graduate, so I have to graduate. And I remember that day I was 5 months pregnant with Gabrielle, and my mom just started crying. Like, we were walking and I had my robe on, and I was like, you didn't think I was going to make it? And she was like, no.
Really?
Yeah, so it was really touching.
Oh my God.
That's my homie. I love my mama. Love you, Mom.
See, that's the kind of support that we try to bring to our young mothers that we work with. You know, it's very important that you have something or someone in your ear telling you that you can do it. that's part of the reason why I even created this YouTube channel, because it might be other or young women out there that don't have that,
Right.
don't have someone, telling them in their ear or supporting them in that way and letting them know and reassuring them that you're pregnant now, or you just had a baby, but that doesn't end everything, and you still can be whatever, like Nicole said, whatever you want to be. It's just going to be a little different for you. The journey will be different. It might be a little bit harder, but it's possible. So Nicole, you said that you mentioned that you are married now. So can you walk us from after graduation to getting married, and now you said you have a little one?
Yes. So that was a long time. Like, I didn't get married until I was 31. I didn't meet my husband until I was 29. So,
oh my God, our stories are very
I know,
similar.
we're twins. Like, it's hilarious. It's very similar. I think that's why I'm like so like drawn to you. But I'm just like, I'm like the wild bad twin, and she's like the quiet naughty twin. So like, maybe I'm more like a good girl than Nicole. But the thing is, I think for me there was a time where I felt really alone, because I was the first one out of all my friends to have a child.
Oh, yeah.
So, doing things like going out was hard, like super hard. I could never go out.
Yeah.
My friends were still partying, like they were in college. It was like they would party Thursday. I mean, because there's a time where we used to party, like before kids, we would party and like get up, go to work, and go to class.
Yeah.
So, and then once you have a child, you're like, party for what? Like, who's partying? And if you party, you're like, oh my God, I can't even think, because you're just trying to get yourself together for the next day to take care of this child. And so it's like, oh my gosh, who depends on you and needs you? And so needs you to be present, not hungover.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, because when you're young, that's the reality of it. And so I felt really alone. Dating was really hard. Even career-wise was really hard. So in instructional design, a lot of people are like, what's that? So it's just a really awesome, fancy word for corporate training. And instructional design focuses on how do you create the right training solutions for the way adults learn. So that's really what I studied in school, but that was really because that was my career. That's what I studied in grad school, but that was my career after college. After I went to HR, decided I really didn't like HR, and then moved into training and development. And when you're a trainer and you are supporting a Fortune 500 company, you're traveling everywhere. And so I remember, I mean, my mom was so phenomenal in the support. It was like, she was a teacher. And so she literally would like travel with me in the summer. And like, if I had to go, I remember I was doing an SAP implementation in New York City, in Wall Street District. And so my mom, first of all, loved that I had to go, because she's from New York. Remember I said she's Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, I'm coming. I'll bring Gabby. Gabby must have been 2 at the time. And so she would like be the nanny during the day, take her to see cousins, take her to places like Coney Island. And then we could come back and I could, eat dinner with them. And it was hard then, because that was the time where I decided the first time that I was going to go back to grad school. And I literally was doing projects all day for about 12 hours. I would come home or come back to the hotel in the Wall Street District. I don't care how fancy your hotel is. It is this big, with a 2-year-old who like is so excited to see you, and you're trying to do something like some crazy business math, because at the time I was trying to go back to my MBA. And I was just like, how do I handle all of this? So I decided I couldn't go back to grad school just yet. That doesn't mean I never went back. It just means that wasn't my time. So then after that, I ended up realizing once I focused more on Gabby, then dating kind of just came naturally a little bit more. Of course, as she got older, it just, got a little bit easier. But then a good friend of mine was like, I have a friend I want to introduce you to. And she called him and she said, your wife is sitting right in front of me. And I'm like, great. Now he thinks I'm crazy. Because we thought she was crazy.
She planted that seed.
She did. And it became, it was Mr. Doss and I'm Mrs. Doss, and all was well with the world. But I was really thankful to be in that space, because I think I became really comfortable in being a single mom. And I think when you are in grind mode, when you are in hustle mode, you really just become comfortable. Because here's the thing. Everything your friends now want, they want the marriage or the man so that they can now have the kid and have the place of their own.
Yeah.
I thought I already had the kid. I already had my own place. I had my career. So I was just like, who needs a man to muddy up the waters? Like, let's just date and have a ball. And I was just like, I know, just being honest. And
No, I'm laughing because I felt
the same
the
way.
same way.
See? And I think it's because I was so determined
Yeah.
to just make a way for my daughter that I didn't want any one person to take away from that. But the cool thing is that when you meet the right person, they don't take away from that. They add to it.
Yeah.
So, and it's great because, you know, everybody's family. So, you know, Gabby's dad is cool with my husband.
That's
and,
awesome.
you know, it all works out.
Yeah.
But it's you know, that's, I think, is important even for the child, right? To have that type of relationship where they can see grown-ups know how to be grown-ups. And that's huge, too, for a lot of young girls because I don't know what your situation may be, but just remember it's not about you at this point if you're no longer with your child's father. It's really about the child, and you want to create an environment where you can show that adults know how to act and how to get along, and that their focus is on them, the kid, the child, not what's going on between you guys.
So thank you for sharing your journey from having Gabby and grad school and meeting Tommy.
Yes.
Where did Prestige come from?
Oh gosh. So first of all, you talk about planting seeds. I think I always had an entrepreneurial spirit because I've watched my stepfather have many like businesses, and you know, it's so funny. He like wanted to have a banana pudding store. Like that's what they sold. And my mom was like, what? It was like Little Mama's banana pudding.
Oh,
Mom was
wow.
like, no. Then he was like, he worked for the state, had a great position with JJC. And he literally was like, I'm going to have a mobile shoe shine like unit. And my mom was like, what? Like he just always had
But they
ideas.
have those. They're at the airport.
But my mom was like, but what? Because you work at the state. You are not going to be Mike the shoe shine guy. Like, you know, so she was like, no, you're not going to do that, sir. And he was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get my van wrapped, and they going to be all nice, and, you know, so my dad had a very entrepreneurial spirit. And what I loved about my dad and what I learned from him was the freedom of just trying anything that you got excited about to see if it sticks. And so, like, for me, I saw that he was just always so free and trying it, and he's also, I'm a Scorpio, he's a Scorpio, so he doesn't care what you say or what you think, he's just gonna try it. And I think that I have a lot of that in me as well. And so I always had an entrepreneurial spirit because of that, but I really didn't think of being an entrepreneur. I was really focused on my career because I knew your girl was going to be somebody's chief learning officer because I was built for that. That was me. And then I went to a girlfriend. I had an old roommate who had an event. She had gone through iPad coaching at the time. And she said, Nicole, just come to this event. Please support me. And it was a workshop called Live Your Life by Design, Not by Default. And I'm like, oh, Michelle, I love that name. So she said, you can get a 0% off if you bring your friends. So I got two of my friends, Tawana Coleman. You'll see why that name is important later. And my other best friend, Felita Bird. I brought them. They came with me. It was on St. Patrick's Day, and the goal was to go to New York City, take this class, walk out feeling like we're walking on sunshine. That was the goal.
Yeah.
I left out like, I'm starting a business. And it's going to be Prestige Organizational Development Solutions. Don't mind me, right? It was like, that was going to be it. And my goal, because remember I was all focused on this corporate ladder thing, was to create a training and development agency for Fortune 500 companies, because I knew that we were that kind of department that always was the first to get cut. So it's like communications, marketing, and training. High salaries, but not a lot of tangible results, first to get cut. So if I can bring the agency there, they pay top dollar for consultants, but they don't have to pay what we call salary plus Betty, which is your benefits, medical, anything if you do dental, tuition reimbursement. So that's a really great win for companies. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'm super excited. I can't wait. So then I started practicing this whole law of attraction thing. And next thing you know, I'm like, I see my office, I see my people. And then headhunters start reaching out to me. Like, do you have this experience with Agile? Do you have this experience with Scrum? And I'm like, I got to learn all this because I didn't. So I was like, I learned all this stuff. And then Tommy started talking about kids. like, I'm trying to get my whole entire life right. What are you doing? And so
he wanted his family
because he didn't have any.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he's like, I want 2 kids. I was like, I gotta push out 2. He's like, no, we already have Gabby. I was like, my man. That's what I'm talking about.
Negotiation.
I love it. So what was really interesting and awesome about the way this organically came about was that in this whole thing of trying to create this training boutique, if you will, what was really cool was that I didn't want to do it alone. I had already had like a party promotions company that I had gone into business with, a really close friend of mine, and I just didn't like the partnership. Loved the friend, didn't like the work partnership, and so I just really didn't want another business partner. So I decided that I didn't want to look for more people to come in business with me. I wanted to look for a sister in the platform. So in my life, I've met these other women who were like kind of doing their own thing. So when I was going to coaching school, I met this girl by the name of Danielle Tyson who lost her job, lived in this beautiful like gated community in Cherry Hill, and she was like my number one, because I used to sell Mary Kay, so she was my number one Mary Kay customer, and she knew I was going to coaching school, and I was like, hey, can you be my pro bono client? And in learning about her hustle and her grind, I'm like, if I want to surround myself with other women who are grinders and hustlers too, I want to call on Danielle to see if she would meet with me to kind of just do like a mastermind thing around, you know, just being a girl boss. And then at the time, because I was doing party promotions and I really wanted to stop, because at this time Gabby's 4 and she's telling her pre-K teacher that my mommy can't help me write my name because she works at a club.
Ooh.
Right. Like, no, that's not what it is, I promise. Like, I'm not that mom.
Right.
So what ended up happening is that when I came out of it, Talana wanted to do some party promotions, and I worked with her on one collaboration at Miss Tootsie's. And what ended up happening was I'm like, oh, Tawana has a little bit of a hustle spirit. I'm going to ask Tawana to join us. I had met one by the name of Amina Corsi, who I knew was really interested in doing event planning, and she was just the kind of person that was just always like my ride or die. Like, what are we going to do? What do you need? What are we going to do? Where are we going? And I'm like, Yamina should come too. And I asked a couple of other women, and then 2 women who I worked with at American Water. The one was in HR, one was in IT, and one had a business that was a nonprofit for women and families, and another one had another event planning business, and they were my founding members for Prestige. And at the time, the focus wasn't Prestige, the network.
Right.
It was me getting these contracts for these Fortune 500 companies. But when we met, my house used to be like the party house a little bit, like Super Bowl Sunday, football Sunday. So I said, ladies, when you come to the house, business casual, we'll have PowerPoint on the screen, we'll do little kinds of little breakfast, but we'll always start with like a business meeting about where we are with our businesses, and then I'll teach one thing that I usually teach to the companies when I'm doing my job. And I said, you'll have an accountability partner. And we had this little red box that's literally still in my dining room now. And I would put names in it, and everyone would write a goal, a monthly goal, and then they would have an accountability partner.
Oh, that's nice.
And we all worked together, and we met every third Saturday of the month. And I said, and then one time we started talking about having a kid. I said, I can't be pregnant and be like the face of my company saying, you get me as the talent too, and I'm pregnant, because they wouldn't hire me, I thought. And so I'm like, I'm going to focus on this thing over here called the Prestige Networking Group. And that's how Prestige came to be. Which, of course, went through rebranding. And now we're the Prestige Society, and it's a completely different, platform now. But, and we've grown so much more. But that's how it started, and it really came about.
It's interesting how you pointed out that you realized that by being pregnant that these companies were gonna like probably give you the side eye and not hire you because of that, you being pregnant. And it's kind of unfortunate that a lot of women, we experience that. We take our time in announcing our pregnancies if we're already working with the company, or we try to hide it, or until we get hired, and it's just that's something that women, we have to deal with and go through. It's very unfortunate, but I think the plus side to it is that it pushes us to get creative and think of other ways on how to grow and how to become successful, even if it's not with that particular company. And that's what you did.
And can I say why that's important too? because you know me and you
Mm-hmm.
know our conversations we've had.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what would have been perfect for Nicole? Me. Would
Right.
it have been the corporate contracts, or would it have been the networking group?
Mm-hmm.
The corporate contracts would have just been a constant reminder of what I did in my 9 to 5. I would
Yeah.
have not taken joy in it. And so it's almost like really God was like pushing me into my purpose and what was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be anyway. And I think that's important too, because
Yeah.
sometimes we so self-insert what we think
Mhm.
we're supposed to be doing that
Yeah.
we just don't trust where we're really supposed to go.
Yeah. And in essence, like me being a member, like I know how much you pour into your members.
Right.
And I see it, and I feel like you be pouring too much. But
Yes.
it's all good. But I like how you shifted your focus on the Prestige Society, and now, so like you're at a point where basically you have your 9 to 5, but you're also, you know, an entrepreneur,
Right.
and you're growing this brand over here with women.
Yeah.
But then you also have Tommy,
Yes.
Gabby,
Yes.
and Taylor.
Honey, listen.
How in the world?
Yes.
And then you also have Nicole.
That's right. Oh yeah.
So how do you balance?
So how do I balance? So first of all, I do use my planner, because you know you talk about you're not like a planner girl. I think that's why I even made the planner the way I made it, because it's like it forces me to think about it. Like, okay, so here's your house goals for the day, and here's your body as a temple, and here's your spiritual growth. And I really pick things that focus on me, and we could talk about that, the planner later. But that's kind of what forced me to think about it, because it's intentional now. Like, I got to do this. But also, it's what I pray for every morning. So one of the things that I started to fear, not that I thought was happening, but I was starting to fear it could happen, was that I would put so much into business and everything else that I wasn't going to put anything into my marriage or my kids. Especially with Gabby getting ready to go to school.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of attention she needs and prepping her for that. And so, and then my 4-year-old, you don't have to like think about giving her attention. She demands it. So, Gabby and Taylor really function very differently. But so I started to be fearful that I would give too much to these other things. And I think in the past I have done that with not Prestige, but like with other things, like, I'm in all these other things, because I always have been an active person. And like Tommy would make jokes and be like, we had salsa lessons and all of a sudden you made us stop and I was getting really good. He wasn't getting good. But he was like, I was getting really good, and you just made us stop because you did this other thing. So it's always this other thing, and I never want my kids to say that, and I don't want my husband to always think that. So I have to make a very conscious effort to make time for everyone and for me, because when I don't, I feel it. I'm stressed out, I have headaches, I'm frustrated with any little thing.
Yeah.
So, all those things are really important. So it's intentional, definitely, to make time for my kids, and even for each one of my kids. So we have Gabby days, where it's just me and Gabby, my first love, my ace boom. So we always talk about that, it's Gabby days. And then, of course, naturally, there's times where it's just me and Taylor days. And Taylor loves to chill. Netflix and chill is her thing. Like, she's like, but she doesn't really know it as Netflix and chill. She goes, Mommy, is this our chill day? And I'm like, yes. So we have to watch Miraculous. And then it's like Ladybug and Cat Noir. If you parents don't know, look it up. She loves it. And that's our thing. And whatever snacks she wants. And that's, Taylor. And then Tommy, he's so laid back. I can just sit in his studio with him. Maybe I'll sing a reference on the track, and boom, that's our quality time. And then I go to Hand and Stone and like get a good massage.
Yes.
And I'm good. And honestly, going to events for Prestige, really for me, like, that's my me time. Like, I enjoy that too. So like Greedy in the City yesterday, that was my me time all the way. So those are things I think that I enjoy, but it's very intentional. And if I think that if I don't plan for it, it won't happen.
Yeah.
So that's how I think.
And then the effects of not being intentional and having that time for this person, that person, and yourself,
right,
will definitely take a toll on you.
Absolutely. And if you won't see it right away, but when you do, you're like, holy crap. And then you ask yourself, how long have I been operating in this space like this? And so really, it's important for me to be intentional with my time. just because I believe that that's something we don't have control over. So if, today's your last day on this earth, if you weren't a good steward of that time, then that's like the most precious gift you have. So that's why you see that planner with all those things. You're like, Nicole, you doing all this? Yes. 30-minute intervals, like boom, boom, boom. But yes, so I'm very intentional.
I like your system that you're creating.
Thank
so,
you.
I love how you shared your whole journey.
Thank you.
Your journey consisted of a lot of things. A lot of things.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would change?
I don't know, because there's a lot of things, like, honestly, like, my best friend always says, I don't know how you did all that, Nicole. It's like you lived 9 lives, because I literally was, like, in a singing group. I was trying to get signed as a singer, like, I taught dance. It's like...
Party promoter.
Right. I mean, I was, like, always doing something, but I wouldn't change anything, because all of those things had to happen in order for me to be where I am right now. So, I think the only thing I would change, if I could like go back and talk to my younger self, is just tell her it's going to be okay. Like, just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Like,
that was going to be my follow-up question.
Right. Oh, that really?
Yeah.
Because I'm your twin. That's right.
So now I have to come up with another follow-up question. So, Gabby is 16.
Yes.
What is a message you would want to leave her with if she ever stumbled across this video?
So in case you guys don't know me, I'm leaving my daughter with messages every single day. So she's probably tired of me, because like, I feel like I'm like her own personal like motivational speaker. So the things we're going through right now is like, you are designed for greatness. You have a legacy of greatness within you. Why are you settling for a state of mediocrity? I don't think that she understands how great, the women in our family are. I don't think she understands how great the women in our culture are who've come before us and how much they fought. I think that this is the year of YouTube, or the era of YouTube. She loves watching all of her favorite YouTube influencers. She loves to see how it seems really easy, of how much they make for what appears to be for what little they do. And I use the words of saying seem and appear, because of course anything that's going to generate great money means that you put time and effort and dedication into your work. But I understand when we see the highlight reel, it comes across as being something very effortless and very easy. And so, because it seems easy, and because they're constantly in a state of just this, right, with the phone in the hand, it's just like constant, that I think that there's this disconnect in realizing, like, what did it take for you to see this end result? And how do we even get here? Who were the people who fought so that you could see black faces and brown faces on YouTube? Like, who even fought so that you and I could even do what we do? Like, this didn't come because we were just bad. Like, we were just like these girls that just had it together, and this is why we're here. People fought for us to be here and to be in these seats and to do what we do. Someone fought for you to be an engineer. So it's like someone fought for me to be able to sit among white men who are executives and to train them. Like, that's huge. Yeah. So I think for me, she needs to understand you come from a legacy of greatness, and it's your job now to figure out what is your legacy going to be, and understand that if you are in a state of mediocrity, it's because you put yourself there. That's it. It's you. And ask yourself, why are you so comfortable being there? And that's been like our message as of late. And so I think that's probably the message she would expect to see or hear from me, and that would be the message I would love to carry on with her throughout life, because I don't care how old you are. I think that there are women who are 40, 50, and 60 who are comfortable in the state of being mediocre, and I don't mean like being basic, because that's like, to me, like terminology used for the culture. I mean, you're stuck in a position that you know isn't giving you joy, and you just think, I have to stay there because I don't have options. You think you can't start a business because you don't know where to start, so you're just like, oh well, you're dealing with illness or health issues, and so instead of saying, how do I use this as, my test is my testimony, you just kind of deal with your own sadness and just kind of step in where you are. So I want her to take that message with her, no matter where she is, through the years as she grows and develops and matures.
That's awesome that you're teaching her that, because some mothers aren't. and that's why mentors are also good, in case you're not getting that kind of food,
right,
or mental food,
right,
from home. So I would ask you, what kind of message would you give our young mothers out there? But I think even the message that you just gave Gabby,
right,
could even, benefit them in their process through life and trying to figure things out,
right,
as a teen mom, as a young mother.
I would say this though.
Mm-hmm.
Think of your legacy. I think we don't think of legacy. I don't think that's a word we use in our families. I mean, honestly, my mom just told me, your job is to be greater than the women who came before you in our family. So she didn't use the word legacy, but that's really the sentiment of it, right? But I would say, think about your legacy. And I don't think we think about the word legacy. It was my boss who taught me about the importance of legacy. I always talk about Darlene Williams. I mean, she was like such a great Black mentor for me. I mean, and to be my boss, I mean, all she wanted to do,
awesome.
What? Like, she was a unicorn. She just wanted to pour into me and to mold me. And the fact that she still checks on me and she still builds me up today, she's like someone who will like always be in my life. But she used to always say to me, Doss, what is the legacy? I know, it's such shocking. Doss, what is the legacy of your leadership? And like, that used to really stick with me. So I think what's really important for moms is to start thinking about that, right? Start thinking about what's the legacy that you want to leave behind for your children. And that legacy can be, how you show up in the home, the kind of relationship you build with your child in the home, the kind of expectations you put on your child's life, but also how you show up as an example to them. I think one of the things I love the most because first of all, Gabby's 16, so I think she doesn't listen to anything that I say, and I feel like everything sounds like want, 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 right? But when I go to back to school night, she goes to a technical school, and her area of study is called entertainment technology. So she focuses on like directing and all types of cool things, graphic design, stuff like that. So her teachers had her since she was a freshman. So Gabby brings in things like my book, Rock Your Life. She made that one of her summer readings. She shows her teacher my website when they start looking at things for like graphic design. She introduced Canva to her teacher, who was always just using Photoshop. So I went in for back to school this year, and she was like, the teacher said to me, you don't understand. All Gabby does is talk about you and your business, and she's so proud of you. And so I don't realize
paying attention,
and I don't think she pays attention. And it's like, that's why I have to stick with it. So your kids are watching you. And I'm going to say it one more time, especially for our younger moms, your kids are watching you. So if you're like, and I'm going to just go there for a minute if you don't mind. So if you're smoking in front of your kids are watching you. If you're drinking in front of your kids are watching you. If you're cursing in front of your kids are watching you. If you're bringing multiple men around your children, your kids are watching you. If you are acting in a certain way, speaking in a certain way, your kids are watching you. If you choose not to have any goals in life, your kids are watching you. If you choose to just sit at home and accept welfare as your only primary source of income, your kids are watching you. Set your legacy. And if your legacy means that all you do is sit on the couch all day, and I'm telling you, I know this exists because I got nieces and I got friends that got kids. I know they can spend a whole entire day sitting on a couch doing nothing. I had one of my nieces tell me that years ago. She would kill me now if I told people that she did that. I was like, well, what did you do all day? She was like, nothing. I was like, no, for real. Like, from 8 o'clock you woke up in the morning. She was like, more like 12 p.m. I was like, okay. And then when you got up, what did you do? She's like, nothing. I'm like, that's the thing. If you're home doing nothing, your kids are watching you. If you're just watching Love and Hip Hop or watching stuff on TV, they're watching that too. Like, you just have to understand, and that's the legacy you're building. Now, that defines your legacy. Does that sound like a legacy to you? So I think that's what I would definitely tell my young moms. Like, your kids are watching you. Because I think we just assume because they're super young that, like, they don't really know nothing. Oh, they know. Like, they're watching you. So, I mean, you hear Taylor. Listen, I tried to take her to Greeting. Well, I did not want to take her. She wanted to go to Greeting the City yesterday. And I said, no, honey, it's for girl bosses. And she said, and she broke down, and she was like,
I'm a girl boss.
And she said, but I am a girl boss. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like, who created this monster? So,
You.
right, exactly. So they're watching you. And so I want all of you out there who are watching this, who have little ones, who feel like you're struggling, who feel like you're down and out, who feels like you have no idea how things are going to turn around, to know that your kids are watching you. So grind and know that the sky is the limit. I'm sorry, Nicole, I don't think my story would ever be as dope as yours. Like, you were so young. 17. My mom would have killed. First of all, I did be no Nicole. She was trying to kill me when I was 21. I was just ducking and dodging. I just missed it. But, you know, it's like, I think that's so phenomenal. Like, people need to know. Like, and you didn't just come out like, oh, and I was like, you know, this. You were an engineer. That's not easy. That's hard. You did it. Like, girl, bye. You are a whole mood. Like, that's legacy. Like, you're a legacy. And you see it when you look at Deja. Like, that's your mini you. I'm about to get emotional because it's like you see it in your kids, but it's because of what your mom and what your aunt and what your mentor poured into you. So if you don't have a mentor, use this channel to give you that insight, because you have lots of moms that you've either already interviewed or that are lined up that have phenomenal stories where it's like their stories could have been so different. I could have dropped out of school and just been like, well, now I can get, you know, BCAP, and I can get WIC, and I can get this, and Gabby was 2 months early, she was in NICU, I could have got me a whole bunch of benefits and just been chilling. But that wasn't the legacy that I was set out to create for myself or for my daughter, and I think that that's what I want our young moms to know.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.
So I just want to touch a little bit on Prestige before we leave.
Okay.
So what's going on with Prestige? What do you have in the works?
A few things. I'm not going to say a lot because I'm going to try to wrap it up. So we have a few things in the works. Number one, this is like our year of growth. So right now, and it's like substantial growth, but like growth with value. So we are definitely starting membership again. Our goal is to have about 30 members for this particular drive. But we're looking for women who want to add value to our network, right? So not just try to take all the gems, but also provide gems and help women grow as well.
Absolutely.
And I've been in like a creative mood. I have been creating and creating and creating fourth quarter of 2017 into 2018 into this year. So I have a new book out. Well, it will be out soon. So I'm just finishing my final edits. I'm like, oh my gosh. I know, it's called Tribe. And you're on the cover. Did you notice that was you on the cover?
No.
Oh my goodness. We have to show her the prototype. But it's all about helping women build monthly subscriptions or monthly membership groups like Prestige, but it talks about it from a deeper standpoint, right? And really about building your tribe and building your community, and why this is important for small businesses, and why you should be thinking about this opposed to just transactional type of things with business models. So that's going on. So I'm super excited about that, because we have Tribe the book and the Tribe the workbook, so that the two go together. Then I created a planner. I know. So I'm super excited about that. So it is called the Boss Life Planner, the little black book for slaying goals. And so that's all just to help you keep that your intentional life all together with the family, the kids, and everything. But also, you know, even because, you know, we were like trying to get into the gym, but if you don't make that time and write that down, you won't get there. So putting all those things together. And then I also created a social media planner as well. And then we have an apparel line. We just like, it's just crazy. We're just moving and grooving. And the upcoming mastermind. And that's something we kick off every year. And it just looks different, I think, every year. So I think our first year with you, I think it was like our first year we had you as a member, it was just 4 women. And then I was like, I don't know what, I was on speed last year. I was like, I'm having 10,000 masterminds all at the same time. Like, it was insane. So that happened, but they were all focused on different things. And then this year, we're scaling back, and it's just one mastermind. You pick the project that you want, and it's 4 weeks. It starts 2/7 to 2/28, and we're going to use mind mapping as the tool to kind of get you to just kind of brainstorm everything, because we get in our own way trying to think about like, what are we going to think on? No, you're going to just brainstorm first, look at what makes sense, and then we're going to set goals and hold ourselves accountable.
Awesome. I can't wait.
I'm super excited.
I already signed up for it.
Yay! So those are the things going on with me.
Can you tell our viewers, I was supposed to say listeners, can you tell our viewers where they can find Prestige and
Yes, I just changed my IG handle, so I had to
I
remember,
noticed
like,
that.
where are you, Nicole, on Instagram? So I'm at the Prestige Society HQ. So you can check us out there. Follow us. We love people to follow us because that's what we do. We follow right back. And also, I have a podcast as well. So motivational podcast that's daily. It's called Rise and Shine. You can find it on iHeartRadio. You can find it on iTunes as well as Spotify.
Yeah.
And
it's under Pink Radio with Prestige.
Yes. And so, and then I also have my Girl Boss Girl Talk one. So yeah, so Pink Radio with Prestige has 2 shows so far. So we're like doing it big these days.
Yes.
Who
yes.
knew?
I don't know how you're doing it, but you're making it work. You're making it do what it do.
I don't know, but because I'm being intentional, and I have 30-minute intervals to get ish done this year. That's it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yes, it was.
Next time we'll bring out the wine.
Yes, and then next time we're gonna bring out
Taylor,
the baby boss. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe.